Hi everybody, it's Russ and My Hammers 11. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell notification button so you're made aware of any time I put new content on. Obviously, we have videos going up daily, but sometimes 2-3 times a day. And every story, every interview, every memory is brilliant and it's captured. So we won't want you to miss any of it. So make sure you hit that bell notification. We've got loads of great guests, loads of great fans turning up, including today's fan. He's a writer for the Blowing Bubbles magazine, great magazine. It's Ben Harshaw. Ben, how are you, man?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Ross. Thank you for having me.
Absolute pleasure. How's things in this lockdown era we're in?
Yeah, a bit fed up like the rest of the world, but we're getting. I think we're getting through the other end of it. So
yeah, the pubs will be open soon. It makes all the difference, doesn't it? And obviously, football's back as well. So whether that's a good thing for us or a bad thing, who knows? We'll find out in a few weeks' time. But at least it's something else to moan about, isn't it?
Exactly. No, it's been a good distraction.
Yeah, no, exactly. And this channel's been a good distraction for me as well, because it's it's a great opportunity to talk to people I might not have spoken to before, and talk about West Ham. She's nice. It's probably it's the one Zoom call that everyone wants to take because it's not about work.
Exactly.
It's about football. So for you, Ben, obviously, for those of you, you may detect a slight accent with Ben, living in Northern Ireland. Why West Ham, Ben? Why is it your team?
Do you know, everyone, obviously growing up in Northern Ireland, everybody's Manchester United, Liverpool or whatever. So my dad actually is Manchester United and probably would have liked if I was, but I just, something different. I'm a big Northern Ireland fan, and at the time I was young, Michael Hughes, Stevie Lomas were two of my favourite Northern Ireland players, and I suppose that probably drew me in. And then once I was in, I was hooked.
Yeah,
the worst and best decision of my life, probably. But
exactly. And you're right. We've had quite a few Northern Ireland sort of internationals, haven't we, in the team? Thinking about it now, more sort of laterally rather than
Ian Dowie, Roy Carroll. Yeah,
we've done quite well actually. Yeah, exactly. So at least there's some, it's more so than maybe England internationals, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah.
And so obviously since then, Ben, since that period onwards, there must have been some good times, some good memories. Maybe not even games, maybe just sort of meeting players or stuff that stick in your mind, which sort of we could chat about now, really.
Yeah. No, when I was young, and it was a few years before I was actually over at a game. So I was in the West Ham, but it grew. Once I first went to my first game, I was just completely hooked. My brother actually went to university in Manchester, so I used that as kind of a base, and I went to I think 6 or 7 away games before I was ever at a home game. But once I went to Upton Park, not only was it the football, like I went over to Upton Park by myself, knew nobody, and within our friends that I still have for life, that's what West Ham is to me. It's the day out. The football spoils it most times, but no, it's a laugh. It's a day out. It's brilliant. Like, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, no, I totally get that, and it's very true. Another story, one from the Scandinavian Hammers, German Holt, said he flew to Bucharest for the UEFA Cup tie with Steaua Bucharest, and he didn't know anyone, and by the end he's been lifelong friends, and as you said with you as well, you flew over, you didn't know anyone, but by the end you've made friends that you're still in contact with many years on. And you're right.
Yeah.
Football is secondary to being a West Ham fan, isn't
it? Yeah, it has to be.
Yeah, exactly. If it was number one, they wouldn't get no fans. So yeah, that's the thing. And obviously, you come over quite, reasonably often to see the games, and it must be sort of nice to catch up with people face to face, in the pubs and stuff.
Yeah, no, it was brilliant. I came over, I think it was 7 times before I saw a score. And then my first goal I saw score was away to Bolton. We lost 2-1. Scotty Parker scored. And then eventually I got a win, but it took a long time. But yeah, no, coming over, meeting people, I've always got a place to stay. It's brilliant. Like, I actually went to university in Preston, so I lived there, and I had a season ticket and stuff. So I came down every week to London. at Upton Park, and then I'm just back from moved to America for 8 years. So
Wow.
I was living in New York, so I'm just back in the UK now. So yeah,
All over the place.
yeah, exactly.
So from going every game when you're in Preston to going over the States, where you actually football's not, obviously you just come back, but obviously it started really tricky to get football there, and now it's like all over the place on all the networks.
See, when I first went, I went for a summer job coaching football, and then I ended up staying, whatever. But the coverage over there is better than it is here. You know, like you can see every single game. I know it didn't used to be like that, but now like you can literally see every game. So it was great. And then I obviously met up with some of the New York Hammers as well, which are good bunch.
Great bunch.
But everywhere you go, you meet a West Ham fan.
It's true, isn't it? And you just have this sort of. I've said it before. It's weird. I imagine it's the same with every other club, but for us, it seems to be a bit more. Like you don't have to. I mean, we've been social distancing for years, West Ham fans. We don't shake hands. We just go like, "Come your wines,"
exactly.
That's it. And there's no handshake, there's no hug. It's come your wines, and and that's it. So we've been doing it for years. We're ahead of the curve in terms of that. But it just seems, you're right. I mean, who was I interviewing? From the David Houtswick, and he was saying how he would be walking down sort of Manhattan, and it was like a game, and there was some people coming the other way, and literally they just nodded. They were both in West Ham tops, and that was it. And that's all you need to acknowledge each other. I don't see it walking down the road with two Tottenham fans, smiling at each other and nodding in acknowledgement. But West Ham seem to have that sort of extra sort of community spirit.
Well, you wouldn't smile if you were a Tottenham fan either, would you?
No, you wouldn't. But I mean, what have we got to smile about at the moment? To be honest,
true.
But it is what it is. But yeah, you're right, and the whole sense of community has come through this whole sort of channel. As I said, people sort of coming on, suggesting people, and they're giving me numbers, and and it just epitomises everything we talk about. We talk about this West Ham family, and this is almost like an epitomation of that. Now, obviously, what we do is we find out your journey. So if we found out sort of, you pick West Ham because of Stevie Lomas and Mickey Hughes, and then what we do is go into this Hammers 11. So now, for those of you listening or watching, rather. Ben's actually been quite productive, and he's given us a choice of 3, which I think is fantastic. But we're going to have one. We're going to go. We're not greedy. We're going to keep one because I might come back to Ben if I'm short of numbers to do another couple. So we'll do that. And Ben's going to take us through an injury-prone 11, which I think is brilliant, and it's a theme we haven't heard yet. And albeit with some poetic justice, but poetic license, but we're okay with that. The only criteria really is you have to be sort of alive to have seen them play, basically.
Yeah.
And I think, to be honest, the injury proneness about West Ham is probably in our lifetime, Ben, than beforehand, it seems. People didn't seem to get injured before we started supporting them, to be honest. But now they're all bloody injured all the time. So for your team, Ben, who would be between the sticks? Now, I know it might be slightly controversial who's between the sticks.
Yeah, just to clarify, I haven't picked Andy Carroll 11 times, although I probably could have. But between the sticks, it was one that was quite difficult. For injury prone wise, but I've actually put Fabianski because he's only been here 2 seasons and he's missed a lot.
Yeah.
So.
And he made such an impact when he was injured, wasn't he?
Oh, massive! Yeah.
So because it's like hindsight's a great thing, but obviously we brought these 2 keepers in. We sent the boys out, 2 of the boys out, and it made sense. As long as it did make sense. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it just didn't work out that way, and we're sort of paying the costs now, very much so. But
massively, yeah.
But yeah, no, I think Fabianski just shows you how much a great keeper, is needed in any team really. Because he just gives everyone confidence, doesn't he? He gives the centre backs confidence because the goalkeeper knows he got confidence in the goalkeeper.
Oh yeah, you could just tell the whole team whenever he was going, the whole team was just shook up. And we saw why.
Yeah, no, exactly. And when he got back in, you just saw the team lifted, and it's such a critical position, which I think now people to understand even more so now because although we've been all right with goalkeepers, in terms of we've done well for goalkeepers, particularly in the modern era.
We have.
Robert Green and David James and Roy Carroll, obviously, and we've done all right. But obviously Phil Parks and stuff before my time, and Ludo obviously. But yeah, I put Fabianski in goal, and yeah, we'll put a caveat behind that definitely. All right, we'll put Fab in goal. Let's go left back then, Ben. Who have we got left back, man?
I haven't got left back. I've gone with a back three.
Back three, fine.
I'm trying to fit them in, sort of thing.
No worries. Back three. Who's your first centre back then?
So right side of either right back, right side of centre. I've gone Sam Byram. Never seemed to be fit.
Never did, and he came with like his big, because he came from Leeds, and they had quite a good possession of players, didn't they, coming through, and it just seemed to, he just never seemed to be fit, did he? And when he had he had a couple of games run, and he was good. And then he just get injured again. Such a shame.
He came in against us as a sub, I think, for his debut against Man City, if I remember right. And he actually looked really, really good. And then he just he'd play 3 weeks, and then he'd be out for 4. And I honestly don't think he was going to be up to it anyway. But injuries certainly didn't help him. And I notice he's at Norwich, and he's now out for the rest of the season. So there you go.
There you go. Just carries on the trend. But we'll put Sammy B in. Unsurprisingly, Sam Byram, it's the first time he's come up in conversation. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Right, who's your next centre half then?
So he's probably technically a midfielder, but he can't play centre back. Alou Diarra.
Oh, Alou Diarra. Oh, brilliant.
Who was with us briefly, but could not get on the field.
Oh, yeah.
And I may be scraping the barrel with him, but,
No, but he was, though. And it was that sort of... There was a raft of those French-based midfield players that came in, wasn't it? It was him and Eduardo Cisse and people like that as well. And I think, didn't he play a couple of games? He was all right, weren't he? And
yeah, he was. I was actually quite excited when we signed him because he's a decent enough player. But just never happened.
No, it just never happened.
As with so many.
Yeah, yes, unfortunately so. Well, for Alou Diarra in, brilliant. Unsurprisingly, he hasn't come up in conversation either. Right, the last of the back three then, Ben.
Winston Reid, yeah, who I absolutely love. But again, he'll be wonderful, and then he'll be out for 6 weeks. So it's a shame because he really is a quality centre back.
Yeah, he was. I mean,
when you look at the impact he's made, I remember when he first signed. I think it was the Alvin Grant season he signed, if I'm right. And actually, one of the best things I think for Winston Reid was us getting relegated because in that championship season he found his feet and he just went on and on and on from that. And you look at a centre back, but you look at the goals that not that he scored a vast quantity of goals, but what those goals were. The last goal against Millwall at Upton Park. He scored obviously the last goal in Upton Park. Yeah. He scored in the 3-0 win at White Hart Lane, the Ravel Morrison game. So for a centre back, those are 3 big goals to have on your CV.
Yeah, totally. And you're right. I mean, obviously, when he came up, from the Championship, when he came up, he was like touted by Liverpool and Arsenal. They wanted him, and he was a good player. It always makes me laugh. I always remember that because the club sort of promoted it. We just signed like a World Cup international.
Yeah.
And there I was rubbing my hands thinking, we're getting Cannavaro or we're getting Nesta. And he's like, no, New Zealand World Cup international. And if I remember, watching the World Cup in that 2010 season, he was all right. I remember he was one of the ones who stood out for New Zealand. And I don't think New Zealand conceded a goal in that tournament. If I'm wrong, Ken Hammers will tell me I'm wrong in the video. But yeah, no, it's he was good. He was a strong player, and he's been in the club almost 10 seasons now. And it's a shame, obviously, you said injury because we could sort of need someone like him. I think at the moment, just a steady.
Well, yeah, you look at us having to play Rice at centre back the other day, and you wonder. He's on loan in America, obviously, Reid. I don't know if he's fit or he's not fit or what. But if he was there, you wonder. He could have done a job for us.
Yeah, totally. Totally. It's a case now. You just need bodies now, don't you? You just need bodies because there's so many games happening so quickly, which is exciting because you haven't really got time to sort of look at games and digest them and go into nitty gritty because you got one in a few days' time. So it's really good. It keeps everything going.
Yeah,
it keeps all the positivity going for the time being. Right. Okay. There we go. Is your back three? Who do you want to talk about next, Ben? Who's next?
Okay. Ben? Got a little bit of a diamond in midfield here. So Hitzelsberger.
Yeah.
I think he signed and then was out for 6 months straight away.
Yeah.
And I was excited about signing him because he was very good for Villa.
Yes.
and was it Everton or?
I can't remember. Definitely, yeah. And I don't
He
remember
went
if
to
he's
Germany
yeah,
and then we sent him back, but
yeah,
he was very, very good.
yeah.
But
And
yeah,
he always did those. He always did those sort of like those bombs, wasn't he? Those sort of 35 ping. Yeah, he pinged them. Yeah, and he was a good player. And you're right. Yeah, he was injured for so long, but when he came in, you could see he was a class player. He was class. I used to, yeah. And again, unsurprisingly, Thomas Hitzelsberger hasn't come up in conversation either. So we're racking up the new names, which is great, man. Which is great. All right, we'll put Tommy Hitzelsberger in. Who's your next midfielder?
Jack Collison.
Yeah.
I mean, Jack. It's such a shame. What a wonderful player, and he seems like a real decent guy as well. He's doing well coaching, so it's good for him. But you think about that game, Millwall in the League Cup. His dad had just died, and he played. I mean, he was so dedicated. He was wonderful. And I remember one of the games that really sticks out for me when I think of him is went down to Cardiff for the playoff semi-final, and I think he scored 2 that night. And he was wonderful that night. So yeah, he's a brilliant player. Just really unlucky.
Yeah, he was. He was really unlucky. And you said he's great guy and doing great at stuff at Atlanta at the moment. And yeah, I mean he'll be back one day, won't he?
Yeah, hopefully.
I mean, you see, there's this influx of old players now being brought into the staffing. You think, he's cut his teeth in Atlanta and then come back, and you could see him sort of in a similar role to like Kevin Keane, I think, sort of Steve.
Yeah,
because he's very much, it'd be great, absolutely brilliant. All right, Jack is in. Who is next?
Jack number 2, and I'm sure you've worked out who that is.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, would have been a wonderful signing, a fantastic footballer, but can't get him fit. And I have to wonder at the minute, like I've been crying out for Moyes to bring him on recently, but I'm wondering maybe he's not bringing him on because he's not fit. I don't know.
Well, he said, didn't he? He said that he needed minutes under his belt. Well, you can't put minutes under your belt unless you play a game, and it's like it just seems a sort of weird, oxymoron type way of.
I thought 1-0 down at Tottenham. I thought he's the player, create things, control the tempo, but yeah.
I mean, the other school of thought is, they've got less hope of these 3 games, and they've got more hope of the others. So maybe it is, I think we're clutching at straws somewhat there. But yeah, no, you're right. It's he's and again, when he does play, he is still a good player. He's still got a lot of skill and a lot of class about him, and it's a shame that. I mean, before we got into the season, before the Wolves game, we had a fully fit squad until like the last training session, it seemed. And as always, the way West Ham. But yeah, Wiltshire is one of these guys who, he could really, if we keep him fully fit, he could really make a difference in that 3. You got to think there's Deck, Noble, and there's one more spot in that 3. And you think Wiltshire in that, and I think it's a case now of. It's backs to the wall. You need people who are going to keep fighting, and arguably the more sort of foreign-based players maybe not have the fight that the English players have, for example. Just so I think everyone sort of agrees, that's the case. But I mean, it's not like 4.
And he supports us, so he's going to be passionate.
You think he'd have that, and him and Noble. You have 2 West. That's what the fans want now. Is they want a couple of players in that team who are going to fight for the shirt, and if they support the team they're playing for, it just makes it a lot more easy to accept that they're fighting for the shirt, isn't it?
Exactly.
You wouldn't accept anything less, really. Right, we'll put Wiltshire in. Great. Okay, next one then, Ben.
Quite an obvious one with Kieran Dyer. Yeah,
Kieran Dyer
again could have been a good signing. He's a good footballer, but it was a terrible leg break, and it just went downhill from there.
No, totally. And again, one of those players when he did play, you just saw he was a good player.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And there was
played for England a good few times, I think.
Yeah, he played well, and it's just like you're right. It's just like it's and there's no coincidence that all of these are in the modern era. In a space of about a 6-year period, and it was, and it is, and it still is. We get, I don't know what it is about, West Ham, but it used to be the training ground, wasn't it? They always used to say they used to get it because of Chadwell Heath, but now at Rush Green, it seems
Yeah,
But
it don't matter where we go.
well, it's not that far geographically. Chadaway from Rush Green's probably about a 10-minute drive, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still it just seems the way, at the moment. You just buy these players who are a little bit fragile for us.
I think we need to train in those big bubble football things. I think that might be the idea.
Yeah, Zorbs. Yeah, do that Zorb thing. But they did. That was a joke thing, wasn't it? When they were trying to do social distancing training sessions, they were all we're going to put in Zorbs. It's like, oh yeah. But maybe maybe you got to bubble wrap these people a bit more now. I don't know. But it's we'll put Kieran Dyer in again. First time he's appeared on the channel. There we go. Who is next, Ben?
Front three now. First one is Mikel Antonio.
Yeah.
Again, I really like him. Not the best technically, but you cannot. One thing you can't say is he doesn't work hard.
No.
He does not stop running. And he's been very isolated recently, but he doesn't stop. And I've actually noticed after sort of 70 minutes, you've been watching it and going, you need to take this guy off. It won't stop, but he's tired. But for some reason, Mr. Moyes can't see it. But he's another one. He sort of plays in sort of 3-4 weeks and then hamstring, or it's because it's his size and it's his running power. It's going to happen. But yeah, he misses a lot.
No, you're totally. It's one of those things where you're right when it's he, and then he'll have like 3 incredible games where he'll just terrorize the fullback, and then he'll get injured, be out for 3 or 4 matches. You said, and it is. You're right. It's his size, and he just doesn't give up. I think that's the trouble. I think he almost needs to know when to stop. Do you know what I mean? But every ball he chases it, and that's why fans love him, because he does that.
I think that's the sort of because he came up for non-league and stuff. I think that's in him. They're not knowing where to stop. I think that's where management needs to step in and sort of manage him better, and take a decision out of his, because if while he's on the pitch he'll run.
Yeah.
So take the decision away from him and give him a rest, give him 15 minutes off, whatever.
No, you're totally right.
And when I think our season could be, when I think of the Southampton away game this season, how well he played up front with Haller, and Haller benefited so much from having him up there with him. If we'd have done that more often, things would be different.
It's a shame, isn't it? Obviously, it's a shame that everything's happened, but but the season stopped just as we were starting to kick started. Do you know what I mean? I would have fancied us against Wolves with that team, the sort of the mentality we were playing. Obviously, we were meant to be playing that Saturday or the Sunday or whatever it is, and it got called off the day before.
Yeah.
And
just played Europe too.
Exactly, and also Tottenham, because obviously everyone was injured. It's the West Ham way, but you can only deal with the hand you've been given. But you're right; it was the glimpse. Everyone had been crying out for Haller to have a partner, and it was it was working, and you could see Haller just was this different player than you'd had the previous sort of 3.5 a season beforehand. And then with Bowen coming in as well, you think that's your three, isn't it? You think that's your three. You got Haller, Bowen, and Antonio, and I just don't know why. I mean, now
I really like Bowen so far.
Oh, it's great. Yeah. I've had the same level of excitement when he signed as I'd had when Dean Ashton signed. Sort of young, hungry championship player. And he's very similar to Antonio. Doesn't give up. I mean, that Tottenham game, he was covering Frederick's arse the whole game.
Yeah.
And what I would like to have seen with Antonio is him deployed in the same way that Wolves deploy Traore, because in theory they're similar. They're both big, bulky, muscular, quick people, and you think if you throw him on for 20 minutes, the tired left back or right back, Antonio would rip him to pieces, like Traore has done against us.
Yeah,
obviously the other day the same again. But then he'll get. But the trouble is, you put a game plan together, and you said then he'll be injured and out for 3 weeks, and then you've got to the scoreboard. Right, we'll put Mikel in. Who is your next player then, Ben?
Andy Carroll. Yeah.
Do.
Don't think I need to say too much about that. What a great player he could have been for us, heading the ball. I think when I think of Andy Carroll, obviously the goals that come to mind are the Palace goal at London Stadium. But also the last time we played Arsenal at the Boleyn. I think did he score a hat trick? He scored 2 anyway.
He scored 2.
Brilliant. Yeah. But that was what did he cost us per game?
That was ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
So I don't think I need to explain any further.
No, and obviously we're due to play Newcastle soon, so you guarantee he'll score against us. Just because it's the way it is with West Ham, isn't it? But yeah, you're right. Again, one of those players is when he played, I love players who command more than one defender. And obviously he commanded always 2 defenders. So naturally there's going to be an overlap somewhere. But you're right. He'd have 3 or 4 good games and then he'd be injured and out for 6 weeks. And it's like, it's just frustrating, isn't it? Because like you get like a team together and you got like a momentum and it just all goes by the wayside. But you're right. I mean, there's glimpses there. Obviously that Palace goal, which goes down in history of, one of the best goals up at London Stadium. And he was just a good player. And again, I was really excited when we signed him. He was one of those players because I think we signed him really late on in the day. And I got a text message from someone with a picture of him, like the shirt, and it was obviously before that Sky. It might have been one of the club photographers or something. I was like, "Oh my god, we've signed Andy Carroll. This is it. This is the start." And he gets injured and stuff.
And his first game, I remember his first game when he came on loan was Fulham. At the Bowling, and he tore them apart. And then, funnily enough, he limped off late in the game, and it kind of set the tone. But he was brilliant. Like he's unplayable on his day.
Yeah, he really is. And I mean, you see, and he's very similar to obviously Wiltshire and Antonio. Anytime they get tackled and on the floor, you think that's it. He's out. He's out, and and then he'll get back up. You go, okay, we've got him for at least another half a game. But they were all just so fragile, wasn't it? It seemed that any tackle that they crumbled, and you got worried that they were that was it for them for the rest of the day. At least now, if anything happens, we've got 5 subs if Moyes chooses to use them. So it's a bit better. But right, okay, we'll put Andy Carroll, do Super Andy Carroll again. First time he's appeared. And the last piece of this sick note pie, Ben, who have we got?
Dean Ashton.
Oh, Dino. What could have been?
And I absolutely loved him, and he was, he was wonderful. He was exactly what you'd want. He could have been. I mean, people bang on about Harry Kane. I think Dean Ashton could be every bit as good. He's strong. He could finish. He's technically a good player for his size and all too. Like his feet were quick. He was good in the air. He worked hard. There was nothing that he was lacking. Just wish he never got called up for England. I'm sure he does too.
Yeah, I still have this sort of hatred for Sean Wright Phillips. It's quite funny. It's the Innocuous Channel, but it's challenging him. But I still still can't look at him on the telly. He was on Peter Crouch's thing the other day, and I just couldn't watch it. I had to fast forward it for. But yeah,
I was just watching the Mark Noble testimonial again there last week or so, and that goal. Like I was so happy for him. He deserved that sort of send off. It can be a cruel game, but
it just shows you what a good player he was. Do you know what I mean? Like he still could do it. He still technically was brilliant. And one of those players. I don't know how long he would have been at West Ham if he was fully fit. To be perfectly honest, might have got another couple of seasons out of him. But he would have been for England. People were crying. Rooney was crying out for a decent partner. He would have been that person, wouldn't he? And he would have partnered him.
Massive,
and they would have and that sort of finishes this sick note 11 very nicely, Ben. Appreciate all the effort that's gone into it. It's been really great. Thank you. No, good fun. Thank you very much. Obviously, thank you to everyone for watching and listening. Don't forget to subscribe, like, all that type of stuff. And for me and Ben, take care, everybody. Stay safe, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye.